And it says we are live, which means it's another Monday. Hello, everyone. I already see the chat all busy over here. Welcome. Today is a really fun day for me. I am so excited. I have a guest today, and we're gonna talk about a niche, a specific niche, but more importantly, we're gonna talk about how do you get there? How do you figure out what that niche is for you? We're going to have that discussion today. I have a little brain fog today. I got to say, I've been without air conditioning since last Thursday, which means I've been without good sleep since last Thursday. So I feel like I'm wading through this just fogginess today for Monday. So please forgive me if my words are just not popping out of my mouth. We do this every Monday. For those that are new, welcome. I am Danny. I am known as the Niche Lady. And every Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific time, we go live about something to do with online selling. And I've been doing eBay since 1998 and teaching others. So eBay is kind of my go-to market, but I also sell in other venues. But without further ado, I want to bring on my guest. She is... I don't even know how long I have known Vikki. She is part of a dynamic duo, but sadly, Katy is traveling right now. So we do have Vikki. I'm going to add her up here. They have a YouTube channel called Katy and Vikki, and you guys go live every Sunday at what time?
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock Pacific every Sunday. And we occasionally throw other shows in there. Sometimes we do Fridays after dark. Sometimes we do Wednesday shows. We're super lazy YouTubers, guys. We say that all the time. The only show that we do with any consistency is our Sunday live show.
And your Sunday live show is so fantastic for sellers who need inspiration, a kick in the butt, because we're all doing this from our homes, and there's no boss over our head, saying, hey, here's your quota and all of that. And you guys open up your numbers and you show everybody what you do, like your numbers, like how much you sold that week and what sold. And I just think I don't sell what you sell, but I still find it totally inspirational and motivational to watch your numbers and go, yeah, I need to do better, because you guys are doing it full time.
Thank you for that. I think everybody has their own niche, like you said. Everybody does their business a little bit differently. And Katy and I noticed that, there's a ton of YouTubers out there, right? Some are really good and some are really bad. And then there's a whole lot of people in between. And we just do it for fun. And we have our own little community of people that we love to do our show and our Facebook group and things like that. But we did find that there's not a whole lot of people that are very transparent with their numbers and accountability. There are a few, and props to them for doing that, because it's not easy to put yourself out there. And it's, there's going to be somebody that's going to criticize it no matter what. We are not the biggest sellers out there. We're also not the smallest sellers out there. We're kind of somewhere in the middle. So we try to, tell people and be very real. Some weeks are really crappy and some weeks are really good. And we just, we're very real. This is how much we made this week, and this is how much we spent on what we made, and this is what the numbers are after you take out all your fees, and here it is, Yeah,
and that's what's great about it is it's, you're right. There are a lot of people out there that show numbers, and you can't trust those numbers. But you're realistic. It's like, oh yeah, I can totally see, that being possible.
Yeah, I think that's what we try to do. We try to show you it is realistic. It's possible. Yeah. This is what you can do as a one person or two people can do. Here's how many listings we have. Here's the real numbers. I spent $5 on this item and it sold for X number of dollars. Everybody knows what the fees are on the platforms themselves. It's nice to see these things on Instagram and on Facebook. You see these big stacks of packages, or somebody shares their 90-day sales total and they're making $90,000 in 90 days. I mean, that's fantastic. That's inspirational. But if you're a small time seller and you see that and you're like, I'm never going to do that. But you don't know what they did to get there. You don't know if that $90,000 is $5,000 in profit. You don't know. Like,
I was just going to say, you don't know if they spent $95,000 to make
right.
$90,000.
And it's nice to see when there's somebody that talks you through the real numbers so that you can figure out, is somebody actually making money at this, and how are they doing it?
Absolutely. So you're getting picked on, by the way. I don't know if you saw this comment.
Am I? I know, right? I don't have it's true, Jen. It's true, Jen. I have no tech support from Katy. I'm barely logged into StreamYard. I don't even know how to highlight. This is not my show, so I don't have to highlight comments. This is why Danny can handle it all. So I have no lighting. I have no professional lighting. This is just, what you see is what you get.
You're great. You're doing fine. You're not in your office though, are you?
This is my office. Yep.
Oh, okay. It's a different background than I'm used to.
Because we do our show in Katy's office. So Katy's office is full of it's decorated like a 12-year-old boy's bedroom. It has all kinds of horror memorabilia and all kinds of stuff on the walls and back of it. And mine actually looks like almost kind of professional and
looks like an office.
It looks like an office.
All right. Awesome. So let's kind of dive into the niche thing. Like, you follow the same philosophy that I do on pricing. You don't put your stuff out there to be the cheapest. And I want to talk about that first, but then we'll talk about why we're able to do that, which goes back to the niche. So were you always that way, or did that kind of develop as your niche developed?
So, I mean, I'm like you. I've been on eBay since 1998. We're like OG eBay sellers back when you could not research pricing and solds, and you just kind of had to wing it. And you had to wing it, and you had to figure out stuff as you went along. And I think all of us that have been selling that long are pretty self-taught. And so I think I started that way because we used to do everything in auction, and auctions would tell us what the price of something was worth. So, and now auctions are almost a thing of the past, depending on what you're selling. Primarily, you're not going to sell an auction, and at least not with what I sell. So over time, I've learned that a lot of sellers don't understand how to do comps, or they don't understand how to do comps properly. They don't understand, depending on what you're selling, that it takes time to sell things. You're not going to turn everything over in 30 days or 60 days or even 90 days in your store. That's not the way it works, depending on what you're selling. Sure, there are certain things that you will, but for the most part, if you're selling one-off items or vintage items or not high commodity items, you're not going to do that. So there's really no need to race to the bottom with pricing. So if you're trying to comp your items based on a title or a brand, and you're looking at solds, there are so many people that are going to race to the bottom to try to sell their item the cheapest and the fastest that they're doing themselves and other sellers a disservice by doing that. You need to have faith and value in the item that you're selling. I will price something more than double of what somebody else might have priced it at, and I'm going to get that price for it, or very close to it, because I'm asking for it. And because I think that it's worth that, and I'm going to take good pictures, and I'm going to describe it well, and I feel like my item has good value, and I'm not going to sell it like it's junk. I'm not going to display it like it's junk, and I'm not going to price it like it's junk. So yeah, I mean, I think that you feel the same way about vintage stuff. Yeah,
and and eBay's made it a little harder on us to teach the new people coming in, because they give price suggestions.
Oh, they're terrible. They're so terrible.
Gosh.
And gravy. Ignore the price suggestions. Please don't.
It's based on robots going in there and picking out words like they have no idea that your, vintage flashlight is different than this other vintage flashlight over here. They're throwing so many things together because the analytics are built for commodity items. They're built for things with manufacturer specs and SKUs that are exactly the same,
multi-quantity and usually brand new in a box, or something that's used, but you can still get it brand new. You cannot price used or individual specific items off of those types of suggested prices. You just can't. It's artificial intelligence is not that intelligent.
Exactly. So first tip, do not follow eBay's pricing suggestions. eBay doesn't know your business. They don't know what you paid for something. They don't know what the trends are in the vintage world at all. So, okay, number one piece of advice. So then going back to what you were saying too, eBay is filled with sellers from just the person over here who's basically running an online yard sale and just wants to clear some stuff, to those who are running this as a full-time business and take it very seriously, and then everything in between. So I have this flashlight on my desk, so I keep pulling it because I somehow need something tangible in my hand to talk, I guess. But let's say I have a vintage flashlight. So let's take the online out of it. Let's go in real world. I can go to a yard sale and I can buy that vintage flashlight for $1. Does that mean that's the value? No, because I can go to an antique store and find that flashlight for $20, let's say. So it's really just knowing your brand within eBay and attracting the right customers.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Which is what niche is.
That's it.
So you have developed a niche for vintage clothing. And I'll just let everybody know, Vikki is my go-to person for vintage clothing questions. And honestly, when I find a really good piece of vintage clothing, I sell it to Vikki.
It's true.
Because I can still get a good price for it, and she's going to get a better price for it because it's not my niche. So, and that
we live in the same town. I have bought from Danny because she's like, I don't want this, and I know you will here. We've traded things before, so yeah.
Yeah, it just works good. So how did you develop your niche of vintage clothing? Were you always doing vintage clothing, or did it kind of?
No, I wasn't actually. It's funny. I don't know if I've ever even told this story, so you might be getting the scoop on this. But when I started on eBay, I used to live on the East Coast, and I started as an antiques and collectible seller, and it was all hard goods. I sold glassware and china and any toys and pretty much anything, all hard goods, very little clothing. In fact, I hated clothing. The only time I would sell clothing is if it was something literally antique, maybe Victorian or Edwardian. And living on the East Coast, you couldn't walk out of your front door without finding something 100 years old at every garage sale on the weekend. So everything I had was very plentiful. And everything would sell I'd probably sell 75% of what I'd put up every single week on eBay in an auction. I'd listed everything. I'd go and buy everything on Fridays and Saturdays. I'd list it all over the weekend. It'd go up on auction Sunday night, and it'd all sell the following Sunday night. That was a wonderful thing about eBay before we had stores and, the good old days. So little over 8 years ago, I moved from Rhode Island to Las Vegas. And when I moved to Las Vegas, or Henderson, actually, when I moved out here, I realized that there is a large wasteland for antiques in Las Vegas. They are few and far between. They are nowhere near as plentiful as they are because this is a lot newer state. It's a lot newer city. People that move here are very transient. They are not here 4 and 5 generations deep that way they are in New England. So I had to very quickly figure out how to change my entire business model. I wasn't able to get my hands on the type of things that I knew how to sell. And so I had to learn how to thrift. I had never thrifted before. I had never really gone into thrift stores. I had never sold clothing. I did here and there of my own, but I actually had to go and figure out how to go into thrift stores and buy things to resell. And by then we had smartphones. So I was able to look things up. And I realized very quickly that I really hate current fashion. I hate fast fashion. Don't get me wrong, I wear it myself. But I hate it as far as reselling. And I'm not a fan of retail arbitrage. Every once in a while, I get an itch and I'll try it, and I suck at it. I suck at it. I'm terrible at it. I try to buy into it, and I'm never successful. I lose my shirt almost every time. And every time I say it's the last time, I'm not doing it. And I'll try it again a year later and go, nope, never mind, forget it. I'm just bad at it. But what I've found that I have a very good eye for is vintage clothing, especially women's vintage clothing and men's. Although my fiance Katy kind of has the market on men's in our family. So I get her men's cast offs, or I get the men's when I'm not with her if we don't source together. But I found that I have a good eye for women's vintage, and some things are self-taught, and that's something that is self-taught for me. I very quickly was able to figure out construction and quality and decades and styles, and figure out what people like and what they're going to wear and how it can be styled currently and how people are going to wear it. And I don't know if that's an innate thing or something. I just have an instinct. I think some things just can't be taught. And I love it. And that's kind of what I've focused on. I still sell a little bit of everything, but I really love women's vintage clothing. And that's kind of what's probably 75% of my store is, at least.
Yep. I love that. It's a great story. I didn't know that yet. Thrifting wasn't just something.
I hated it. I hated clothing.
I was born in the back of a thrift store, I always say.
I grew up from my mom.
Passion.
My mom I came from, a family where my mom used to say garage sales and used clothes and thrift stores were gross. She used to think used clothes, she doesn't think that way anymore, but I grew up that way. So I always thought like some used clothes, ew. Now forget it. I wouldn't play for
that was a big stigma up until even just a few years ago, really. I mean,
yeah. I wouldn't pay full price for a darn thing anymore. But when I was a kid, so I never grew up going to them. Like it was just not a thing. So it was something I had to like learn. And then I was like, why the heck haven't I been doing this my whole life? Why am I going to the mall? What is this? But now
I hate full retail. I cringe when I go into a retail store and look at prices. I'm like, you can get that for like $5. It's so cool. My daughter, who's 29, is also a thrifter. And well, she's not engaged yet, but they're heading that direction. But she's already talking to me, my mom, are we going to like thrift my entire wedding? And I'm like, game on.
My daughter is 28, and I don't think and she's the same way. She doesn't sell online, but she only buys online. She will never pay full price for anything. I've taught her well. She would do the same way. She furnished her entire house pretty much secondhand.
Yeah.
And it looks fantastic. So yeah. She knows. We taught them well.
Going back a little bit in the comments, Julia has a question. Whoops. Was that the one? Wait a minute. Yeah. Was that the one I thought? Yeah. What do you do when there is a huge range of prices on something like a Murano glass basket, like $500 to $30? Well, I know how I handle that. It's like, if I find something has sold in the $500 range, I'm going to price it in the $500 range, because somebody was willing to pay that at some point, and nobody's going to pay it if you don't ask for it. I think you would probably agree with that.
You can never raise your price if you sell something too cheaply. You can always come down. You can make offers. You can put best offer on an item. You can run sales. You can send out offers to watchers if you're talking about eBay. You have nowhere to go if you start at the bottom price. So if you start at a high price, and then see how much traction you have. If in 30 days you have no watchers, you have no likers, you have no offers, okay, well then maybe your price is out of the stratosphere. Then maybe you want to come down a little bit. But you have no room to go up if you start at the bottom and someone buys it and then they flip it for $500. Why would you do that?
Yeah. And I always say, at some point, get to where you can take a 50% off offer and still be rocking the profits.
That's where I am.
Yeah.
I price all of my stuff so high that I can put my entire store on sale for 50% off and I'm still making a great profit.
Yep. Yeah. I get a lot of flack because at the end of my videos, I put values, and I'm just like, I just want to tell everybody, like, those are not the prices that I would put it at in my store, because I'd go higher. I'm giving like the average realistic sold comps that I'm finding. Mm-hmm. My asking price would be higher than that. That is what I would expect it to sell for at least.
Right. So I might list something for $150, but you know what? If I paid $4 for it and it's been sitting for a month, I might take $50.
Yeah.
So
Can't
yeah.
go broke making a profit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we got a kind of off the topic question for you. But Jamie from Mid-Century Wasted wants to know what the name of that blue paint color is behind you.
I don't know the exact name, but it's like a Tiffany blue. It's you can't really tell with this lighting is so bad, but it's like a Tiffany blue.
Let's see. I'm looking for questions over here. Oh, Eclectic Elements says she just purchased their first home, thrifting at least 80 to 90%. It's been a dream of yours forever. How fun is that?
If I had to do it all over again, I think I would too.
Yeah. How fun is that to do something you've dreamed of doing too, you know? I need a lot of time to do a thrifted wedding. I got time somewhere. Good. Cheryl says she's learned from you to price high. Yep. And those who follow me know that I'm always like, price it high.
Cheryl just needs to list her stuff. She's really good at buying. She's very slow at listing.
I got to say, my eBay store right now is suffering just a little bit, but I do live sales. Like I sell about 60 to 65 items in my live sale each week. And then I'm also selling things like straight through my videos. So I'm shipping out about 100 packages a week right now, which is, so eBay kind of gets low end of the totem pole.
But you know what? It's working for you.
Yeah.
So, got to do what you got to do.
Here's a good question. And I know you don't do a lot of auctions, but how do you know if an auction is the way to go on something that you're selling?
So I probably, because of what I do sell, I think I probably do maybe fewer than a handful of auctions a year, and I sell thousands of items a year. So the only time an auction is going to be the way to go is if you have something that is in high demand that at least 2 or 3 people want. If you see something that has sold through comps, that has sold with a bidding war in the past, that's when you're going to want to put it in auction now. But for now, in my opinion, and Danny, you can correct me if you think it's wrong, but in my opinion, I would much rather take the highest priced sale of something, historical sale price of something, add onto that and put that as a price for something with a best offer in my store than bother to run an auction. Because if you have something that's vintage or scarce, you have to find 2 people that happen to be looking for it at the same time to battle it out, to find it in the auction for you to get the price that you want for it. Most times you're going to see, if you're looking through WorthPoint or TerraPeak or some type of thing to see your solds, you're going to see that you're going to have higher prices realized through fixed priced than auctions on almost everything.
Yeah.
The auction is the way of the past.
I have 3 criteria that I tell people to run an auction. And this falls for commodity items as well. Number 1, as a loss leader. Like if you are trying to drive traffic and you have an item that no matter how it's listed, it sells in a certain range, you're pretty safe starting it at like a 99-cent auction. And you're doing that for the purpose of driving people into your listings.
Right.
It used to be a lot better when our stores were a little bit more like eBay was driving people back to things in your own store kind of thing. Yeah. But so there's that. Then there is like, if I have an expensive item, but it's got some damage and I don't know exactly how much that damage has truly affected it, I will do an auction at a set price, but I will start that auction where I would be happy selling it.
Yeah, your minimum acceptable price.
I do the auction just in case that the damage that the amount I'm assessing to that damage is not as much as I think, and it still goes for crazy high dollars. And then the third case is if you have an item that is like so rare, and again, you have to have at least 2 people willing to pay for it. But again, starting it where you would put it at fixed price just to see if maybe it's gone up a little bit, because sometimes those can end up being like, oh my gosh, I had no idea that was now worth, $2,500 kind of thing. So that's my scenarios for auction.
So a couple people are asking, my channel is it's just Katy and Vicki. Cheryl put the name, it's pretty easy to find. Cheryl put the name, it's nothing fancy.
One of my mods can go grab the link and put it in the chat. They're good at that. How long oops, love it when the chat just jumps. How long of something not selling would you drop the price? I feel I change my prices constantly. How do you handle that?
Well, it depends on what you're selling. So Elizabeth, if you're selling current modern fashion or what we call like mall brands or something where you have a lot of competition in the same marketplace, then you need to have a hook, right? Because you're going to have a lot of competition. So either you need to be someone that does free shipping or offers sales or does something to move your inventory faster. If you are the only person that has that item, if it is a vintage item or it is a one-of-a-kind item, or it's an antique item, you can be a little bit more precious about your pricing because it's going to take time for that person to find you. So for me, I don't worry about how long I've had something listed. I look at it as every single thing is an investment. And I have about 3,500 items in my store if I use eBay, because everything I have is on eBay at least, although I sell on many platforms. So I have about 3,500 items in my store, and I sell about 2,500 to 3,000 items a year. So for me, that means that I'm turning over a little bit more than 80% of my inventory yearly. I may have something that sits for 3 years before it sells, but the majority of my inventory, just to use loose numbers, sells within a year. Just by using those numbers. I put things on sale every week. I'm running some kind of sale every week. Whether it's something that was just listed or it's been listed 6 months, who knows? I don't micromanage it that way personally. But when you have a larger inventory, you have items that are long tail items, which just means that it's going to be in your store for a long time because it's vintage. Vintage tends to be long tail. You're not going to get a high turnover on it or fast turnover on it. So when you're a vintage seller, whether it's vintage clothing or any type of vintage in general, your sell-through rate is going to be slower and lower than a lot of other categories. So there are a lot of people that say, well, if you don't have a 40% sell-through rate, then your store sucks. Well, that's not really true. It depends on what you sell. Yeah. And there's not a one-size-fits-all formula for people. So you can't listen to, there are certain people that consider themselves gurus of selling that are YouTubers or influencers or whatever you want to call them. And they may be very good at what they're talking about in their field, but there is not a one size fits all approach to reselling for anybody.
Right.
You have to pick and choose. You can learn something from everybody. Pick and choose what you learn and figure out how it's applicable to your business.
And that's why I just love talking to you so much, because we're so aligned in that, because I put out the way that works for me. And I always tell people, you've got to find, depending on what you're selling and how you're doing your business, what tweaks and things you do that will work better. I don't have it all figured out, and probably never will as long as I'm in business. Because that's the thing about running your own business. It's constantly flexing and changing, and you have to find the formulas that work for you.
And what works now may not have been what I was doing 2 years ago, and what
may not work next year.
Yeah. You have to be flexible. It has to change.
Yeah.
So Elizabeth, if you sell vintage home decor, and I think I saw earlier, I don't know if that was you or not, I'm sorry, the chat's moving, if that you sell on Etsy. I don't run a lot of sales on Etsy because their listings historically, they say, do not get stale the way they do on other platforms. But it doesn't hurt to run a sale here or there. And if you wanted to, do 10% off, 50, I don't know how much margin you have on your items. Running a sale is never going to hurt. So whenever you want to do it, do it.
Yeah. So the way that I do mine, and again, I am, every time I talk about this, I like, oh yeah, you know what? We're starting a new month. I need to go back in and refresh these. So I have 2 store categories for my clearance items. I do a 25% and a 50%. And we get 2 store categories. So I just change my second category to one of those, I call them special values categories. And I move things into my special values categories. And I just run a constant sale on those items.
That's smart. So
I'm never putting my entire store on sale, because I don't want to list a $750 vase, forgetting that I've got this sale running, and all of a sudden, it's immediately put on a 25% off sale kind of thing. So that's why that method works really well for me. And yes, I still accept offers within the sale, because at that point, if it's in one of those categories, that means I've had it at least 6 months. It's time to move it, because you move it, you make a profit, you turn that over into something that possibly can move faster, make bigger profit. And
Exactly.
that's the name of this game, is just keep turning over the profits. So
exactly. And then, so I see Lois asked, do I get many returns on clothing? In general, my return ratio is at under 3%, and I sell about 80% clothing. I don't think that's that bad for clothing.
No,
I have
really
heard
good
a
for
lot of clothing sellers say that they get somewhere in the 10% range.
I was just going to say, I think clothing, you can expect up to 10% in a returns, and that's just the nature of the beast.
And I think it's because I sell vintage, to be honest with you,
Yes.
because vintage buyers know what they're buying.
They're also collecting more than wearing.
And I'm very, very careful about being very specific with my measurements.
Yeah.
And being very specific with photographs and descriptions, because vintage clothing measures nothing like modern day clothing. So
I still think people don't even know what they measure, though. I'm telling you.
True. That's true. That's true. But I still get returns, but I get a lot fewer than you would think.
Yeah. And people have to remember too, within the small, medium, large, like over the years, those have changed. The measurements within that, and every brand is different. And the way that I shop clothing, if I want to buy clothing on eBay or Poshmark or something, I literally take a brand that I wear, that I love, that I know, and I go and look for that brand and the size.
I do the same thing.
Fits me.
I do the same thing. And especially, and I'm a curvy girl. So, sometimes it's a 10, sometimes it's a 16. It depends on the brand entirely. And that's ridiculous to have that much of a range of sizes, but it's true. And vintage clothing is entirely different. A woman's size 12 from the 1970s it's an extra small currently. So you cannot even put the 12 anywhere in your description. You can put it in your description and say tagged as a size 12, but you need to put it as an extra small in your title, extra small in the category, and then put all of your descriptions, because nobody is shopping by a vintage size 12. They're shopping by the size that they wear. Right. So vintage clothing is a whole different animal, and it's and there are a lot of people that will sell it that don't know that. So that's part of it too. So if you're in a niche and you need to know what you're talking about, that's part of it too. So that helps you stand out in that category.
Yeah, and that's one of the other things about developing. I call it niche. You can say niche. And you know what? I'm just thinking of the air. I don't care how anybody says it.
True.
There's all this controversy out there. How do I like it said? I don't care. Just say it. But when you fine tune your focus into something, like you can clearly hear Vikki with all of this knowledge she's gained about vintage clothing, you are an expert, and that builds a higher price because people can trust that they're going to get what you're offering to them. Versus if I look at a store and there is everything from coffee mugs to Picassos and all ranges of, like, it's really like, oh, do they really know what they have? Because this kind of looks like a flea market kind of thing.
Well, mine kind of does have all that stuff too, but
yeah,
but like it's a majority is clothing.
Yeah, the majority, when you go look at your store, you can tell, and the quality is there, and that demands a bigger price, and that's why I try to, like you were saying earlier, let's start with pictures. Like, pictures are your money makers. Like, if your pictures are not, just go look at some of the big sellers. I tell people, look at retail pictures, because they spend a lot of money figuring out how to take those pictures to sell in an online platform. Get as close to that as you can. Like, make those pictures pop. and that perceived value is raised versus taking the picture on a coffee table with a brown base and a white wall behind you, like,
or
your
a
item
hanger hanging on the back of your bathroom door. I mean, that might work when you're first starting, but you're not going to get top dollar for prices.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can still sell stuff, and you will
can.
sell stuff,
You
but you're
can,
not
and you
going to
can get
demand the
started
price.
that way. And even a flat lay. Okay, I don't have a problem with flat lays. I think some flat lays look fantastic. But if you're going to do a flat lay, at least do it on a clean rug or on a clean white background, or figure out how to use photo room and photo out, and white out your background. There are very inexpensive ways to make your photos look fantastic now. And there's really no more excuse to be having a fuzzy, out of focus, crappy photo on the back of your couch. Like, stop. Just stop.
Yeah. And I was just going to say, this is a perfect time to mention,
and no feet, Cheryl says. You're right. No feet. I don't want to see your toes in a photo. Jeez. So gross.
or anything else.
Right. No shiny surfaces. No.
So I was just going to say, so everybody knows, like, I love List Perfectly. You use List Perfectly. I mean, and you have a lot more choices with the clothing with List Perfectly. Are you on like the Depop and the, I don't know what there's a bunch of clothing ones.
Yeah, I'm on Depop. I'm on Thrilling, which is a curated vintage website that is not on List Perfectly. That is invitation only. You have to be approved to be on that. I'm on Etsy, Macari, Poshmark, and eBay. Yeah. And I've been using List Perfectly for 2 years. I've been using them since they first rolled out their program.
Yeah. I started it then. I backed out. I used another service for a while. And then I came back to List Perfectly because it to me, hands down, it's the best. And the people behind it are the best. And they just added, because we were talking about photos, they have just added, if you sign up on the Pro subscription, or you upgrade to the Pro subscription, you now get, is it Photo Room?
Yes, Photo Room is integrated.
It's integrated now.
500 free background remover photos integrated right through the List Perfectly platform itself each month. And if you have the Photo Room Pro plan yourself, and you happen to already use the program, then it's unlimited. You can integrate your own subscription through that, and it would be unlimited just like it already is. But it's integrated through the platform, which makes it so much easier than using it on your phone, like it's meant to be used now. So yeah.
So I just wanted to give that plug, that for people that are going, someplace else to get, they do and what we're talking about is a background remover, that you put your picture up there, you do the background remover, and you can make it that pure white background, which is really good for the little search bots and everything that are doing all this photo technology. So, and I do have a code down in the description. You get 30% off. And now it's 30% off your first month, whether that's a new subscription or an upgrade. So if you're already at one of the other levels and you want to upgrade to the Pro version to get that 30% off counts. And I don't know about you, but List Perfectly pays for itself. If you use it and you cross post and you look at the sales you get on platforms that you're not currently listing on, it pays for itself.
If List Perfectly doesn't pay for itself within 1 or 2 sales, then you're doing it wrong. Exactly. I'm going to tell you, I've been using them, as I said, for 2 years. And this is Danny's channel. This is her code and everything. I'm going to tell you that in 2020, List Perfectly added over $45,000 to my sales, specifically by using that program to cross post to platforms I would never have been on before.
Exactly.
And this year I expect it to be somewhere around 70,000.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
And I honestly, that is, in the 20 plus years I've been reselling, this has absolutely changed my life and my business like no other thing. Maybe a smartphone. Maybe the smartphone was probably the biggest other change in 20 something years. But honestly, it's fantastic.
Yeah. And I love them. And I love the people behind the company too. They're resellers. Like, for crying out loud. They understand us.
They do. They're fantastic. It's a female-owned and operated company.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
All right, we have a question going back. This is from Olivia. Says, how do you guys deal with the vintage used smell?
So it depends on what you mean. So there's there's the mothball smell, which is really strong. And there are many different ways to try to lessen that smell and eliminate that smell depending on what the item is. And definitely Google, there's a bunch of different ways to do that. Sometimes, depending on what the item is, you're never going to get the smell out entirely. Just mention it carefully in your description, because vintage clothing sellers know what they're getting. If you're talking like just vintage, like musty old lady perfume type of clothing, that's also something you want to mention. I could never dry clean every single item that I sell. It would be absolutely cost prohibitive.
Right.
But a lot of stuff you can like toss lightly in the dryer, spray it with vodka, get a little spray bottle and fill the bottle with cheap vodka from Costco. Get a big jug of vodka from Costco and fill it in a spray bottle. Vodka doesn't stain and it evaporates, but it eliminates the smell. So spray clothing with vodka and throw it in the dryer on lightly and just toss it in the dryer for a few minutes. And that eliminates a lot of smells.
Wow.
If it's something just like musty perfume, that type of thing. But if it's like a heavy mothball smell, that's entirely different. Some things you can clean, some things you can hand wash. Most vintage clothing, real good vintage clothing, I don't bother to clean because I'm not a professional and I'm probably going to destroy it. If it's silk or satin or damask, I'm definitely going to destroy it. And a lot of, depending on how old the item is, current methods of cleaning are just too difficult. There are some great vintage sellers that know how to professionally clean things. I'm not one of them. I sell things as found.
Me too.
So
it gets a little wiped down. That's about the extent.
Yep, they get the wipe down. If it's something that's washable, it'll be washed. Polyester, washer and dryer, washer, dryer. Everything polyester can be washed. That's the good thing about polyester. It doesn't shrink.
Tiger says alcohol abuse. She did
That's
say
why I said cheap stuff.
Vodka.
Stuff you don't even want to use as a mixer. Cheap stuff. Like think pop off vodka.
Wow, vodka works great on carpets and couches too. Wow. Yeah. I'm getting an education here. That's learn something new every day. That's awesome. Okay. I'm kind of watching the time. We've had some great questions, but I want to be sure we do have time to talk about something really super special that you and Katy have coming up. And if anybody needs an excuse to come to Vegas, we've got it for you. So,
I mean, not that anybody needs an excuse to come to Vegas, but if you need a legitimate excuse that you can write off to come to Vegas.
Let me just share my screen here. Oops. Maybe. There we go. We've got the Boss Reseller Remix coming.
Yay!
Tell us about this.
Well, we are coming up on this really quickly. So we have Katy, myself, and our friend Teresa Cox, who is our third partner in this event. We help run a Facebook group called the Boss Facebook group. And we have created a 3-day in-person reseller conference. Some of you may or may not have been to eBay Opens in the past. And last year, when eBay Open canceled their in-person event prior to the pandemic, they had decided they were going to go virtual. We decided we were going to do an in-person event. And then the world shut down. So we postponed last year. And we decided to do it this year. And we started planning this about 6 months ago. And it's coming up very quickly now, about 7 weeks now. We are doing a 3-day in-person event. We've kind of taken all of the best things from eBay Open and kind of corrupted it. I don't know. Stolen it. And decided to do our own event here in Vegas and added to it and expanded on it here. Tickets are still on sale. They are selling out quickly. But we have kind of asked a lot of our reseller friends in the reseller community from all over the country to come in and speak on different topics in reseller panels and teach resellers how to grow your business through different topics and how to up your reselling game. We're going to highlight some of our smaller local sellers that have gone from not even buying anything on eBay to being self-employed and running their own businesses successfully over the past 2 to 3 years. We do have eBay is one of our main sponsors, as well as List Perfectly. eBay will be there with a presence. They are coming and we will have a dedicated customer service table where you can go and talk about any issues. We will have a closing party the last night. We have a big party. If you've been to eBay Open, what they're known for, the last night is the big party. We will have a big party as well, which is fully catered with a DJ. We have a big red carpet that will have some live interviews and professional photographs on the red carpet. We have, it's going to be a lot of fun and a lot of learning packed into 3 days.
Yeah.
In person, a smaller focused event. There will only be 300 people. That is done purposely for several reasons. One is for everyone's safety in current concerns. We didn't want to do a 4,000 person event. We also wanted to make sure that we could put on a good event. This is our inaugural year. We will be doing this in future years, but we wanted to make sure that we could put on an intimate event where everyone felt like they were heard, seen, they could get the information and the one-on-one time with all of the speakers and all of the attendees in the way that they wanted to. And we wanted to make sure that you got your money's worth for it. So yeah, we're very, very excited. We have put so much time, energy, money, effort into this event. We can't
believe me. I used to hold 3-day events, and man, oh man, you've got this thing packed, and I know the work that goes into doing that. And I've already got my ticket. I'm going to be there, and I'm going to be mixing and mingling and meeting all you guys that come out. I'm so excited. And there's some fantastic, for me, it's like getting to meet some of these YouTubers coming out.
I know. I mean, we were so fortunate that, Katy and I are baby YouTubers, and we've always said that it's not our focus. We're resellers, not YouTubers. We just do YouTube for fun. But we're friendly and have friends. A lot of our friends are YouTubers. So we asked our friends to come and help us put this event on, that those of our friends that have such not just strong followings on YouTube, but have certain knowledge about certain things. And we never expected that everyone would say yes. So everyone has decided to come and help us. And Danny and I have already spoken. Danny's definitely on the short list for next year, because we're definitely going to do this again next year. We just ran out of spaces. We were like, everybody said yes. That we asked, oh my God, okay, we got to start making a list for next year now. So we have so many great friends coming out and speaking on. They're not just going to be talking just to talk. They're not there to sell courses. They're not there to. Nobody's being paid. Nobody's selling anything.
Well, you're part of the community same thing. Like, we want people to succeed. We want people to learn. Like, if you're willing to listen to what I've got to say, I'm going to give you my knowledge. And that's kind of what you've put together here too, is, yes, there is a ticket price because, well, venues are not free to do these.
It's not free to put this event on and to feed you and to bring people. Yeah, that part's not free. So we cannot do it for free. It is Vegas. There is, cost to do stuff. But I do think the ticket price is very reasonable.
Oh, absolutely.
If you've ever been to a conference, including eBay Open, our prices are much cheaper. So we're doing.
I love anybody who wants. If you're like on the fence about List Perfectly, come to this event, because Amanda and Clara are going to be there.
Amanda, Clara, and Alex will be there. They're going to be there to talk to you.
To talk to the actual founders of this company. I've done a show with them. You can go back and watch that show too, but you'll have a whole new perspective on choosing a cross-listing software. Let me just put it that way. It's like, I like dealing with people, not just software.
Exactly. I do business with List Perfectly because I love Amanda and Clara. And the fact that they have an amazing business and company for me was the cherry on top. I started doing business with them when their company was such a baby company. It had such a little thing to offer, and the prices were the same. And they've grown into this monster that has so much more to offer, and the price is still the same. And they're still the same people. So I'm just happy to watch their growth and be a part of it. But yes, the event is going to be amazing. We're super excited to bring it to you. This has been our baby and our dream to have to create a community and to bring all the members and the people that we care about in this community together under one roof. Next year, we hope to have a virtual ticket. It was not in the budget this year. I know people have asked that. Next year, we hope to have a virtual ticket option where we'd have to hire, videographer and streaming service.
People don't even understand. That's a whole huge.
Yeah, it wasn't a thing. It wasn't a thing this year. It's just sorry, it's not happening this year. But next year, it is in the plans. But yeah, we just really want to bring together a strong group of like-minded people. I know that a lot of people that watch YouTube religiously love Josh, Harry Tornado.
Yeah.
I've never watched his channel, but he is coming to the event, and he's not a speaker.
Is he really?
He bought a ticket. Him and his wife are coming. He messaged us.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I'm excited to meet him in person because I've never watched his channel, and he's on our short list for next year. So we'll see if he wants to join us for next year.
I don't sell shoes, but I love watching him zero in on shoes. Like at the fleet, like he just,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's
pair of shoes.
Ryan and Rally Roots are coming. Wade's Ventures. I just think we have such a good group of people that have such a wealth of different experiences and knowledge that are coming to talk about what they're good at and coming to share that knowledge. And they'll be there to come, hang out and talk with people. And if you've been to eBay Open before, our MC for the event, her name is Dominique Collins. She used to work for eBay. If you've met Dominique, she is an absolute powerhouse. She is an incredible motivational speaker, and watching her in action alone is worth the ticket price, in my opinion. So we're just really excited. We're going to have a lot of fun, but there's going to be a lot of knowledge too.
And so everybody knows now, like the third weekend of the month is when I go have my, Tiffany from Searching Vegas and I have a space at the fabulous Vintage Market. I got to get the name right of it. And I was like, oh, look, your event is what? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You guys stay the weekend and come see us over at the Vintage Market.
Yes. Don't drink too much Thursday night at the party, and then you can go see the Vintage Market.
But yeah, I mean, I can't wait. I mean, I'm going to be in the middle of moving, and it's probably going to be so fun to just get away from all that and come hang out with.
Release some of the stress. And the nice thing about the event is it is not at a large hotel. Everything can be found at the website. I think it's been in there listed a few times, and I'm sure Danny will link it down below the show after.
Absolutely.
But it's not being held at a hotel. It's not being held at the Strip. It is being held 2 miles from downtown Las Vegas. Almost everybody is staying on Fremont Street, and one of the hotels on Fremont Street. It's about 2 miles away. It's being held at what's called the Blind Center of Nevada, which is a nonprofit organization here in Nevada. So we are putting the money back to an organization that deals with that is a local nonprofit organization. Yep. That uses their event center to help raise money to help their organization continue. So we love the organization. They have a large eBay presence as well, which
I have worked with them in the past as well. Yes.
And we used to have I run an eBay meetup here local in Las Vegas, and we used to have our meetups at their location as well. So it's kind of a full circle thing. Like, Katy and I and Teresa, we very much value community above all else. So we're really trying to make this like a community thing. This is not a money-making thing. It's a community thing. So, and I think anybody that knows us at least a little bit knows that about the channel and about the event. So we're kind of excited.
And here's the thing too. I wouldn't be where I'm at without a community of like-minded people who had my back, built me up, and you and Katy are two of those people. A lot of people don't know this. Like, it was your meetup group meeting in January of 2020 where you had us setting goals. And I still have my little card. You had us fill out cards. My goal was to get my channel up to 10,000 subscribers. And not only did I meet that goal, I flew by
You blew it out of the water.
But you guys got me so motivated, just like, yeah, I need to focus on what I'm doing here. And it's just being around people that support your goals and support what you want to do. Stay away from the negative Nellies out there and those who tell you it can't be done, because Facebook's full of that.
There is enough out here for everybody. There is enough out there for everyone to make money, to be successful. There is enough out there for you to find like-minded people that like to support each other, that want to see other people succeed. It doesn't have to be a competition. And unfortunately, there are also just as many vocal people that try to tear other people down. And it doesn't need to be like that in any aspect of business. But
and my point is, you go to an event like this, and I can tell you there's not going to be a person in that room who isn't going to have that mindset of supportive, helping one another, answering questions,
sharing their knowledge.
You will leave home so pumped from this. You're going to make your money back on the ticket price within the first couple of weeks. Taking what you've learned.
Yeah, that part is absolutely true. There is something about being around like-minded individuals that help motivate you like nothing else.
It fired you up.
Yeah. And you can write it off. It is a tax write-off. It is
a
business expense. The hotel, the airfare, your ticket price, your meals, all a tax write-off. The only thing
hotels right now in Vegas are so hungry for your business. There are such deals out there. I've been ready to go do some staycations.
We've done a couple in this past year. You know, just because we live in Vegas doesn't mean I love staying at fun hotels when they have a good deal. It's nice to do a little staycation. We've done a few. We're staying downtown. We're staying at the Golden Nugget because it's so much easier, and we want to be close to all of our peeps rather than driving 30 minutes back home every night, exhausted, and then back in the morning. So we're staying close.
Not a bad idea.
Get a dog sitter, and
Right. So we have a few minutes left. Any last minute questions over in the chat? I'm going to kind of watch for your questions. I didn't want to do this show. It was just pushing you guys going to an event. I truly would not do it unless I thought it would bring something to your business. Anything that I endorse, promote, whatever, is because I believe in it. And there's certain things I get asked to endorse, and I've been offered money, and I'm like, no.
And that's how Katy and I are as well. And I know Danny knows that. You know, there are literally 2 products that Katy and I have ever endorsed on our channel. One of them, List Perfectly. The other one is Sizely, which is now integrated with List Perfectly. And this event, and we as well have been asked to be part of things or talk about things. I think anyone that has a channel or any type of group, you get asked to talk about things and promote things. And I don't do it unless it's something that I believe in. So thank you. I know that we're friends. I didn't ask you to do this. She asked me, so I appreciate that. But we like helping to build community, and that's That's what
I think reselling is going to be such an important skill for people to have, in these crazy times. There's people, I'm telling you, there's professionals who are going to have to find something to do from home. And I think reselling is going to be such a huge thing. I want the philosophies that we talked about today. I want new sellers to learn those right from the start. Because what is it? What's that saying that rising tides raise all ships or something?
Something like that. I know what you're trying to say. Yeah.
If we help others be successful right from the start, it helps us all. It's not about competition. It's about raising values, raising things in general for all of us.
It's true. If I teach you to be a better reseller, then you're going to create a buyer that has a better experience, that is going to come back and create more business for me. That's
exactly what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Vicki, thank you so much for coming on, giving an hour.
Thank you for having me on. It was nice to chat with you and to see your face. I haven't seen you.
We're going to have to bring you back when Katy can be here too, because I've learned so much from her too. Like I finally learned what a single stitch t-shirt is.
Anytime. And as you know, glassware is not my thing. So I always say to you, I'm like, I don't even pick that shit up, but I'll tell you if I do, I'm going to have you.
I love it. All right, everyone. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic week. We are so close to being out of the summer slow doldrum sales. So just hang in there a little bit longer. Kids are getting back to school. People are sorting out their lives, and we are going to see an uptick in sales. This is one of the waves, and we've already peaked. We're now sliding into fourth quarter, believe it or not. So with that, we will see you again next time. And as always, go be profitable and make it fun. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Vicki.
Thank you.